So, hello everybody, this is Ben Velter from Synthetic Orange, speaking to you today, introducing VILE Electrodes, the headliner of the festival, which is going to take part in about 2 weeks. Before we start with the interview, I'd like to tell you a bit more about the festival itself. It's going to be a concert of 5 different bands coming from, well, different parts of Europe. We have 2 Swedish bands named Presence of Mind and Train to Spain. Then we have VILE Electrodes from the UK. We have Live on Demand from the German Black Forest region. And finally, we have Heliophile from the Netherlands. It's the first time that we provide this concert here in Karlsruhe in the Substage Cafe. And it's going to be a Saturday evening event. Well, I'm quite curious what we can offer to you. I'm very excited about providing this to the audience. And today I have the great honor to be the host of VILE Electrodes, which is Jane and Martin. And they will give us some information about, well, their band, their characters, their philosophy, and so on. Hello, Jane. Hello, Martin.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, there we go. And it's a great pleasure for me, and it was very thrilling when you confirmed that you will join the session in 2 weeks. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
You will have a long travel from London to Karlsruhe, of course. And well, and you travel a lot. So as far as I know, you just went to Finland 1 or 2 weeks ago for a concert. How was that?
Sweden.
Sweden. Okay. Where have you been?
We've just come back from Stockholm last week. We were in Stockholm playing with Page.
Okay. And how was it?
It was brilliant. It was our first time ever flying to a gig. We normally drive in our trusty Weilwagen, but we decided for a variety of reasons we would have an experiment and see if we could fly out to a show and still play a good, so take different equipment, smaller equipment, and still play a good show. And it went well, so it kind of means that in the future we can possibly fly everywhere and anywhere. So we can, we often get invites from people in America or in Australia to play shows, and we're kind of like, yeah, we can't really drive out there. So yeah, the plane thing has kind of literally opened the whole world up to us.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I mean, I can imagine that it's a big challenge to have all this equipment. I mean, in fact, I will see in 2 weeks how much equipment you really have to carry. But how did it work with the plane? It's not regular baggage drop off?
Some of it was. We basically took very little apart from musical equipment, so we didn't really take hardly any clothes. So we took some small synths in our carry-on, and we've got some really good quality flight cases that we put some of the bigger bits in, and it just went in the hold. And we had that classic thing of being on the plane and looking out the window and seeing the baggage handlers like loading our equipment on, and seeing them kind of maybe not be as gentle with it as we would have liked. But yeah, it survived. It made the journey, and yeah, we played a good show, so it was good.
Okay, great. Okay, now it's too late, but you should be aware that Karlsruhe has an airport.
Next time.
Great, good to know. Okay,
well,
so
we do prefer driving to shows, just because I think that there's something about being able to kind of like gradually find your way to the town that you're going to play in. It's kind of like a preparation for the show. It's you get into the mind zone, whereas flying to a show, you're at home, and then you're at the airport, and then you're at another airport, and then you're at the show. And
yeah, actually it is really nice driving, and it's because it's like it's the classic kind of rock and roll road trip where you're just kind of trundling along, and you might break down, but you have a lot of fun on the way. So whereas actually flying is a bit more boring. We really like the kind of the act of driving, stopping over somewhere, sleeping in a service station overnight, and then getting into a town the next morning. It's really good fun.
Yeah, I'm working as a software consultant, so I also travel, and I know that there's a big difference whether I fly somewhere just in the morning and I go back home in the evening. It's only pure stress. But if I have the opportunity to take a car to travel somewhere, I might have the chance to see something from the city and to have
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
absolutely.
That experience. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I hope I can provide some more interesting things about the city of Karlsruhe when you are here. Yeah, on Friday evening, or we can go clubbing, for example.
Yeah, well, I have to be honest. We don't know that much about the town, so it's very exciting. We've obviously done a Google search and looked on Wikipedia, but of course that doesn't tell you very much about the real city and the real place. So we're looking forward to coming.
Okay, well, if you want to know more, or if you have special demands for nightlife or restaurants or whatever, just let me know, and then we might prepare something. I already looked
We
for
will
a venue. Sorry?
We will do.
Okay, great. I already looked for a venue where we can have the after show party, so there are some opportunities.
Excellent. That's what we want.
Yeah, I want to be a good host, so that's my pleasure to have you here. Yeah, so let's start with VILE Electrodes itself, the project, the band. So when did you start all this topic, this project?
Well, Martin and I work together. Martin and I are a couple now, but we first met, we worked together, and kind of in getting to know each other at work, Martin told me about all the bands he'd been in all his life. He started his first band when he was 9 years old, and I eventually, after a while, confessed to him that once upon a time I'd been a singer, but I'd stopped doing it because I got too nervous and I didn't have any confidence in my singing. And he kind of said, you know, well, let's form a band type thing. And we did. We kind of dabbled with music, and we played one gig with a different band name called Strange Fruit, and I hated it and said I'm never doing that again. And but then kind of I was kind of bitten by the bug, really. So we got back together and eventually formed what is now VILE Electrodes, and that was probably properly about 2009. And the name is actually the name of a song that we wrote that's never been finished. And we were like, what should we call the band? Oh, you know, it could be this, we could be that, we could be this. And eventually we kind of went, well, VILE is a good name. And also Electrodes sounds a bit electronic, so it might tell people a little bit about the type of music we do. So yeah, that's how it came to be.
We, in classic rock and roll style, we booked a gig and didn't have a band name when we booked the gig. And the promoter kept saying to us, so what are you called? What's your band name?
What am I going to put on the poster?
And we didn't have a name. So eventually we had to choose something.
Okay.
And we thought maybe it'll last 1 or 2 gigs and then we'll find a proper band name. And of course, here we are.
8 years later.
Years later.
And as I was saying to you, when we were chatting the other day, actually, you know, we've cultivated and got quite a nice following in Germany now. But the letter V isn't great for Germans because it's, you know, it's pronounced very differently to how we pronounce it in England. So they're like, "What is your band name? How do you say it?"
That's it, in fact, yeah. And about when you've been asked for your band name, it reminds me of the German band Rammstein, because when they were asked for, hey, we are a band now, we have to find a name for us, they started with, hey, let's call ourselves Rammstein, and they made a typo, and they could never get rid of that.
I didn't know that.
But that's really a luxury problem, yes. That's okay.
Yeah.
And some years ago, when I joined with a friend an organization where he was playing guitar and he wanted to be part of a concert, and so he asked whether he can join the concert, and the organization asked him for what instrument do you play, and he said, I play guitar, and the organization said, oh great, we've got a guitar, that's great. And then they looked at me and said, and what instrument do you play? And I said, I don't play any instrument. And they said, hey great, we've got a singer. That was the one and only show I ever gave in my life. It was very fun. And it was October the 14th, 1996.
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, how weird. So is that why? So have you timed it to coincide, this gig to coincide?
Yeah, I think you will recognize when you're here.
Okay.
So, yeah. Okay, but not so much about me today. It's about you. So you're a couple. You work together. You have the band project together. Wow, that's really special.
Yeah.
We're not bored of each other yet.
You're not what?
We're not bored with each other yet.
You're twins? So Siamese twins? Or
Siamese twins, yeah, virtually.
That's really, I mean, that's really cool. It's just rare. So never heard that so far. Okay, we already talked about when you started this. I mean, it was in 2009. Great. So from what I know, I've seen you in Lille some years ago. I know Jane is the voice, is singing. Martin and Jane both are playing instruments. So how do you share or contribute within the project? What is your roles each?
Well, I tend to initiate a new song. I'll usually come up with some chords or maybe a drum beat or maybe a sequencer part or bass line, and then I say to Jane, now write some lyrics, and she says, I don't know what to write about, and so I give her a title, and often that title is a very random set of words or something that doesn't really help her at all, but eventually after a while she goes away and comes back with some amazing lyrics about something, and then we kind of push the lyrics and the music together in order to make what ends up being a song. But sometimes it's a very simple process and it happens in maybe half an hour. Sometimes it can take weeks or months or even years.
Yeah, Martin is very prolific. He loves his favourite place is kind of in the studio, and he could spend all day, every day in there, and so he's constantly writing. And he creates so much brilliant stuff, but sometimes he'll write something that I just can't relate to, and I can't imagine singing to it or writing lyrics to it. So I just sometimes have to say to him, I'm really sorry, that's a great track, but I can't connect with that. I can't think, what the story of the music would be. So
so that was going on my solo album.
Yeah, so he's got a whole load of music for his solo album one day.
Okay, okay, so that's clear now. Is there some? I mean, when that sounds like Martin starts with, let's say, melodies, and of course, whether it's conscious or less conscious, it's your mindset, it's your emotions that start to create these kind of vibes. But that's my impression. Just when you do this, and then you handle over, let's say, the task to Jane about, hey, how about some lyrics, and how do you feel about that? Do you share my recognition of maybe of a topic or of an emotion? Is there something your songs have in common? Is there? I mean, I know this from other bands. They have some how do you say, a red straw? No, some red line where they say this is a topic that is covering almost every one of our songs, whether it's something personal or even negatives things. Is there something your songs have in common?
Probably mostly that they're all a bit depressing. I mean, often an album will have a bit of a theme. So our first album was, probably, as a lot of songs are, there was a lot of kind of love and heartbreak on there.
Okay.
And our second album is actually, there's quite a lot of religious kind of references in there, because I was raised Catholic, and perhaps, well, not even perhaps, as an adult I've gone, that was a load of rubbish, religion, no offense anybody, but yeah, religion, I don't believe in that kind of thing anymore. So there's a lot of getting rid of almost literally the demons of religion. So
I think there are definitely some themes that run through our music and our lyrics. We're both fans of science fiction films and horror films. Yeah. We're both fans of dystopian stories, so stories about the near future or a bleak future. Yeah. And particularly
J.G. Ballard and stuff like that.
Yeah, kind of I suppose we're both fans of quite dark, quite serious science fiction, so that tends to come out quite a lot in our songs. I love John Carpenter's soundtracks, and soundtracks by bands like Tangerine Dream, so you can hear that in a lot of the music as well, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So when you, I'm just getting back to what Shane said about love and heartbreak. I mean, these are topics that provoke probably very strong emotions in people, and I think that's quite an important thing, because it's motivating, and sometimes it's a way to cope with things.
Yeah, I mean, the writing process is always very cathartic. So you write, you're having a bad time, and if you write about it, it literally kind of gets it out of your body, kind of onto paper, and it can be a really good way to heal. We both teach, and we teach music, and a lot of the young people we work with have stuff going on in their lives, and I'm always saying, write about it, because that's one way to start healing, by kind of telling people about it and sharing your story.
Yeah. Agreed, totally. Yeah. Let me just come back to what Martin said about the science fiction topics and so on. I mean, we talked about who has the idea of a melody, or let's say a sample, a sound, how you start to create the topic maybe. Who is responsible for your artwork? Is it also something you do on your own?
It's mostly Martin. We pretty much do everything on our own, and Martin's a really good kind of graphic designer. He'd probably say he wasn't, but yeah. So a lot of the artwork is done by ourselves. So I mean, you can say a bit more about that.
Well,
Martin.
I think it's quite important for us. Neither of us are 19 years old. We've both been doing music for a while. Certainly for me, I've been in a situation where I thought, oh, one day I'm going to make it big, and of course, and then you grow up and you realise that that's only for a very tiny minority of people that they get into that situation. So you then make music for yourself and for your own satisfaction. And so actually being involved in the whole process means that you have control, and that it means that you have a sense you're producing your own artifact, your own art. And that's a very important thing for us, to feel like we're in control, but also what we produce is entirely ours.
Okay.
And not something that is mediated or changed by someone else,
a record company or another designer or something like that. So
yeah. That's exactly what I want to give as some kind of a feedback. I hope you never lose this priority of expressing yourselves, because once you start to write music to satisfy others, I think you probably lose
absolutely
passion,
yes.
And you will no longer be as convincing as you are.
Yes, absolutely.
Quite sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me go on with the next slide. So, you already mentioned some of like John Carpenter or Tangerine Dream. Any further idols where you are looking up to, or you know in person maybe? I mentioned OMD.
Yeah. I mean, OMD were the band that I loved when I was a teenager. They were the first band that I ever saw live. Actually, someone asked me this question the other day about when I said that they were the first band I ever saw live, and they said, is that real, or is that just like a story that you're telling because it's a good story? And no, actually they were they genuinely were. I was 16 years old and I saw them in 1984 at Hammersmith Odeon, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It's very funny, because having toured Germany with OMD and got to know the band, I know how Andy McCluskey feels about the time that he saw Kraftwerk in Liverpool, and I guess for me his experience of seeing Kraftwerk is very similar to my experience of seeing OMD. So
because Andy basically, you know, he says that he went and saw Kraftwerk and he was like, you know, all of our ideas are rubbish. This is the future. And
yes, so, and that moment changed his life, and certainly for me, when I saw OMD, that moment changed my life. And I still love the band. They're not by any means the only band that I listen to, and if I'm honest, you know, I listen to music from all eras, so you know, I don't feel stuck in a particular era of music. I listen to as much music that's coming out now as from the 90s or from the 80s or from the 70s. So.
And I mean, from my point of view, I love women, so kind of female-fronted bands. You know, there we go. So female-fronted bands, you know, are just so inspiring. You know, so Annie Lennox, Natasha Khan from Bat for Lashes. One of our favourite albums from recently is Taylor Swift, and she's so badass. Beth Gibbons, Cozy, like Chris and Cozy. And another band that we really love is a band called Adult, who's fronted by a woman called Nicola Couperus. I probably say her name wrong, Couperus or something. But yeah, just lots of basically a lady singer or a girl singer with a really distinctive voice. I love to hear it. So you instantly hear them and go, I know exactly who that is, and I love their style. And in a way, kind of, I hope that when I sing, it's quite recognisable, and that's one of the reasons I now sing with an English accent, because you can really it's really different from an American accent, and I'm English, but quite a lot of people do say to me, you know, when I can straight away know that's you singing, and that's something I'm really aiming for.
Okay. So I already mentioned that I first saw you in Little, which was in 2015. So yeah, I can remember that you performed only in the evening session. There was also something at some kind of superstore during the day, but you performed in the evening, and I was quite surprised about this, because I was there for the first time, and I was not aware of such a festival. I expected something completely different, and what I saw there was, let's say, 20% of the participants were artists. I mean, two were on the stage playing, and then when they were finished, they just merged into the crowd, and two others came from the crowd, went to the stage, and performed. So it was not like, hey, you can see here is the band area backstage and whatever, and that's totally separated from the audience. It was really a very close atmosphere, and that was surprising and also inspiring, because that's what's going to happen in 2 weeks. So there will not be a big distance between the bands and the audience. So if somebody wants to talk to you, or you want to talk to other bands and so on, it's just one big crowd in a way. I don't mean it negative. It's a very positive thing.
No, but that's how it should be. You know, they're supporting us, so why should, you know, the kind of people coming to see us are contributing such an important part. Why should we be like, yeah, we're more important than you, so we're just going to be backstage? No, it shouldn't be like that at all. I much prefer it that it's just a kind of a shared, it's like a big family really of people that are into electronic music.
And I think that there's when you're going to see gigs, see concerts that are relatively small, you know, we're talking dozens or hundreds of people rather than thousands, then you have a much greater connection with what's happening on stage. You know, it's much more of a kind of human and real experience. Yeah. Sometimes if you go to see a big band, I went to see, I shan't mention their name, but I went to see a really big British synth pop band playing at a really big venue a few years ago, and it just felt like going to a supermarket. It just felt like a soulless experience where there were no where it wasn't human at all, and I really much prefer a much smaller, more intimate experience.
Yeah, okay, I got that. Yeah, and that's and one more thing about that. There's only one participant of the festival in 2 weeks who is going to spend the night in a hotel, and that's just because he's there with his wife, and they want to be, let's say, they want to enjoy the time in a different way. It's not like they are only here for the concert. They also want to spend some time together, and that's I appreciate that. No discussion, but that's a special thing about Synthetic Orange itself, that I offered the bands and some friends of mine, hey, can you give accommodation to the bands? And this is really, it's powered by my friends. So, and that also means there is no how do you say? There is proximity between bands and friends in a way. Yeah. So you, that's I'm quite curious about this, of course. But
yeah,
it's really awesome. I mean, they are all friends of mine. I wouldn't provide, I wouldn't link you to persons where I would not. But I hope you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's a really important part of kind of the small underground independent music scene. Kind of people being willing to support like that. There's a performer called Amanda Palmer who, I think she's certainly done a TED talk about it, and maybe even written a book or something about it. But she, it's called like The Art of Asking, and yeah, you need people to be willing to do that, or else it's so hard to make a living from making music now that if people weren't willing to help you like that, put you up, give you somewhere to shower, give you some food, bands wouldn't be able to do it anymore.
Sure. And at the moment, the festival is in a growing part of its cycle. It's a storming phase. We learn a lot. I mean, you already gave a lot of gigs, so you're experienced. You're on a different level, on a different stage these days. The Synthetic Orange is not only driven by me. It's contributed by a lot of friends in my area. Whether they give accommodation, some of them give really some kind of professional advice because they are experts in legal questions or in financial questions and so on. And as you said, you're responsible for the music, the artwork, and some other things, and arranging your travels, for example. It's the same with Synthetic Orange, but it's not possible without the help of friends, of course, because it really caused too many tasks on one shoulder.
Yeah,
and I think that for us, when we travel, especially when we come to a new town where we haven't played a concert before, that's how you make friends, and that's how you make friends, long-term friends with people. And you know, we had it when we went to Belgium a few weeks ago. We made a whole load of new friends from Belgium. We had it last weekend in Stockholm. We made lots of new friends there, and you know, we're looking forward to coming and making lots of new friends in a couple of weeks' time with you as well.
And I hope you can come back, whether as audience or as artists. I mean, I hope that's going to happen.
Well, this is you know, that's kind of how it works, really. So we've gone out to, you know, lots of different places, met new people, played gigs there, and it means that when they're putting on events, we'll go out there. Or if we go and play there again, it means there's already more people that know about it that will spread the word. So, you know, it has to start somewhere. You know, so this is the beginning of Synthetic Orange, and so, you know, next year it'll have the name will be growing, and people will know about it because they came last year, and they'll tell their friends, and you know, that's how it all begins.
Yes, it starts with a vision. Yeah, and
absolutely. Yeah.
In fact, though it is the kick-off event now in 2017, I decided to give it a try even 2 years ago. I was asking Gijs from Heliophile those days whether he would be willing to play in Karlsruhe if I can find a stage for us. At these days, I didn't find a stage, so that was an obstacle I didn't manage. And this year, in 2017, well, we did it. Obviously, I made something different compared to 2015 because I was successful. Now we have the stage, we have the substage, we have the sound technicians, and so on. and it's working now. It's great. So, and I remember VILE Electrodes, and you were one of the first bands whose music I bought right after the iSynth. So and that was I kept you in mind. This was why I approached you and asked you for, would you be willing to play here in Germany? And as with all the other bands, immediately thumbs up. Yeah, we want to be part of the festival, of course. And there were many more bands than I could handle in one event. And now friends start to mention other bands because they want to see them here on stage, and they know that's quite rare, and they give recommendations. And as you said, it started a long time ago in Lille with the connection to VILE Electrodes and Heliophile. It went on with Train to Spain and Presence of Mind, whom I got to know in Gothenburg also in 2015. And in fact, the last band who joined this event was the band here from the region. It's live on demand. So I wasn't aware of that band half a year ago or 1 year ago. I received some promo material at that time, but I wasn't really aware of who are these guys. They were standing, it's really funny, they were standing in one of my regular discotheques or clubs. Every month I was standing less than 2 meters away from them.
And you didn't realize that they were in a band.
And then I was just asking, hey, any clue, any recommendations from my friends about a local band? Hey, why don't you ask Live on Demand? Who are they? One of my friends gave me this hint, and he said, you know them because they are in the connection every week, every month. And I said, oh, those are the guys. Okay, that's great. And now they're joining the family. That's incredible. It's really fun.
Oh, that's really nice to hear.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. So, coming back to VILE Electrodes and your experiences in the past, you, of course, when you have been support act of OMD, then we're not talking about alternative and small and whatever. What is the audience size that you ever experienced in your own audience?
So not with that. You mean not with OMD or when we played with OMD? Because yeah, definitely OMD would be the biggest crowd we ever played to. Kind of staring out at an audience where you can't even see the back. That's a really weird experience. I'm trying to think. I'm rubbish at remembering the capacities of those venues that we played in.
Maybe 1,500, 2,000 people. We played a gig in our hometown, Hastings,
of course, yeah.
last year, which was we were playing first on the bill, but also on the bill were the Orb and Happy Mondays, and that was a pretty big gig as well. Probably about 2,000 people there as well, I would think.
Yeah, something like that. But we play gigs from, even now we've been going for years and years, and we can still turn up to a gig and there'll be 8 people there, and then we'll suddenly go to another gig somewhere else and we'll be like, oh, I don't think anyone's going to be here, and then suddenly there'll be like 200 people that suddenly turn up, and we're like, what? How come people in this town know of us, but in that other place where we thought there'd be more people, it really varies. But yeah, we still do it just because we love doing it, so we won't stop.
Well, you just mentioned that you've been to Stockholm last week. How often do you have concerts? I mean, if your main job is to teach music in your home area, how often do you travel?
We don't play gigs as much as we used to, but that's through choice. So now we only agree to play gigs that are really interesting or really fun. So being in a band is an adventure, and so we deliberately choose to do the gigs that are going to give us the biggest adventure. So going to a different country that we've never been to, or playing in a really weird venue, they're the ones that we say yes to. So we're actually, it's kind of weird that we have got this three gigs at the that are quite close together. So one in Belgium, one in Stockholm, and then one out with you. Normally they'd be more spaced apart, so probably like 5 or 6 gigs a year or something.
Yeah, I think that we really try and, as Jane says, we really try and pick special gigs. So we do occasionally play small gigs to quite small audiences, but that may be a bit more different in terms of how we might perform. So we're playing a couple of gigs in the UK in November and December that will probably only be to quite small audiences, but we'll be playing kind of like different material,
quite experimental,
more experimental, taking a few more chances, and that's quite fun as well. So you know, we just like to do what we do.
Yeah, there's no kind of set format for Vile Electrodes. We just go, we're like, yeah, we'll do that one. Oh, we'll do that. We'll do this weird thing. Yep, we'll write a completely bespoke soundtrack for this event. Yep, fine. So
I can remember that I also like to listen to music of Schiller, German artist, and I have seen him several times playing in front of several thousands. But the concert I enjoyed the most was in London in the Coco Club, in front of 300.
Yeah,
and that was incredible. If you compare it to the others, forget about the others. The small one was the best one. So so because the atmosphere was totally different. It was not mainstream. You knew everybody of these 300 who were there was there on a very conscious way. They were very interested in the music, and that was incredible. And the audience was very international. I saw a lot of French at those days, and I'm quite curious about let's say about where the people will come from in 2 weeks. I mean, I know that the Swedish guys have some connections to Berlin. I know that some of my friends will come from Hamburg. They will just fly to see you and get back to Hamburg on one weekend. So that's really, they come very long distance as well, just for being audience, and that's really appreciated, of course.
Yeah, well, that we were chatting with some of our friends out in Stockholm who are, you know, they're umming and ahhing. They want to come, and we're working on them to try and convince them to come out to this one as well. So because they really, you know, they really like the lineup.
But this is part of the story about the size and the type of gigs that we play, where we make friends with people and people come to see us from hundreds of miles away sometimes, because they're not just coming to see a band, they're coming to see their friends. And that's a really important thing for us, that we really appreciate the fact that people do travel long distances sometimes and travel you know, to other countries, and maybe for a whole weekend just to come and see the band. But they're not just coming to see the band, they're really coming to meet us and to hang out with us as people, as friends, and that's really important.
It was maybe about 4 weeks ago when I was sitting here on the well, mountain is not the right term for it, on a hill near Karlsruhe, and I was playing VILE Electrodes on my little mobile speakers, and suddenly a man approached me and said, "I know that music. That's VILE Electrodes. They are going to perform here in Karlsruhe in a few weeks. I already have tickets. I can't wait for it. It's so special. It's so rare." And I said, "Yeah, I know where you got the tickets from, so because I'm the organizer." And it was really great. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, maybe I can introduce you to him on the festival, because he was really excited when he for him it was very well, not only for him, it's also it is very special. You don't have the choice to see VILE Electrodes every year in the proximity of less than 200 kilometers. Yeah, I mean, compared to VNB Nation, you can see them quite often, of course, because they're very popular, very successful. But VILE Electrodes is special. That's a different thing. Yeah.
Aww,
that's what makes him happy.
We think of ourselves in that way.
So, what was the getting back to the question of the size of the audience and your experience with festivals? What was most special invitation you ever had? And let's say the most special country or character of a festival. There's something special.
Ooh, that's a really hard one because so many gigs are so much fun. I mean, you know, we've been asked to play like really proper private parties, so at people's kind of wedding receptions and things like that. So they're always really, you know, it's just a real honour to be asked to do those. I don't think I could choose a favourite, a most special gig.
I think we were asked to play with John Fox after playing with OMD, and that was quite special because John Fox
it was almost a hometown gig, wasn't it?
It was almost a hometown gig, and John Fox has always been one of my musical heroes.
Okay.
Also, we've been very fortunate that we've shared a stage twice with Michael Rother, once at Electronic Circus and once at Electric City in Düsseldorf, and both of those times that was a very special experience because Michael Rother is a very important musical influence as well. So I guess we've sort of been spoilt because we've been able to play gigs with lots of our heroes.
That's what happens these days with Synthetic Orange, because I write emails to bands and ask them for whether they want to join our stage. So, and that's I wasn't aware of this about 1 year ago. I didn't expect this to happen. So then the Substage Cafe mentioned that they don't want to deal with a private person. They want to deal with a company. And I said, okay, then I will create a company just for this concert. But then I will also have other concerts. And that's how things started once again. And that enables Synthetic Orange to approach bands like Solitary Experiments or Apoptygma Berserk to ask for, hey, would you be willing to play on the stage here in Karlsruhe? Yes, why not? Tell us more about the project. And that's really great experience. So you mentioned that what makes a concert special for you, from what I heard, was the other bands performing over there. Did you ever perform open air? Does it make sense in a synthetic environment?
Yeah, absolutely. We played quite a few outdoor shows, and it's actually really good fun because they can really turn up the volume, and because we do sometimes have some really loud drums and really loud bass, which in a kind of open environment just properly kind of flies across the space. And so yeah, we played some open air festivals, and we played on the pier, and that was an open air one. So playing on our pier in our hometown, looking out to sea, actually watching a storm coming in was quite exciting. The storm didn't arrive until we'd finished, but the band after us, it rained and rained and rained and rained and rained.
I think that we tend to try and play a set depending upon the kind of venue that we're playing. So actually, if you're playing outside, maybe you play different songs to what you'd play if you were playing inside in a small club.
Yeah.
And in a small club, you know, if it's a bit more intimate, if it's a bit more, if it's a bit darker, then maybe you can kind of you know, be a bit more dancey. Sometimes outside you want to kind of like play more pop songs or something like that. So it really depends upon the time and the place that you're playing, the kind of material that you choose to play.
Okay, sure.
And one of the really great things about being a smaller kind of independent band, it kind of means that we can choose what songs we play. You know, we're not a famous band who has to play their hit song from XYZ. We can just be like, no, we're just going to play whatever we want.
But we will be playing the hit song.
I want to have Empire of Wolves and I want to have Proximity.
Okay, no spoilers, but maybe they're both in the set.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're playing as the last band, so you have the space for add-ons.
Oh, excellent, exciting.
So, Jen, you already mentioned your trusty VILE wagon. Tell us more about that. What's that?
It's just our van. And when we got invited to play with OMD, it was our first time ever getting an invitation to play outside of England. And we had a car that we'd driven to gigs in the past, but we're like, okay, if we're going to go out there, we want to try, we want to try and save as much money and so profit as much from the amazing experience. So we don't want to have to pay for hotels and things like that. So we were like, well, let's get a camper van, and then we can drive from gig to gig and then sleep in the van. And so yeah, we now have a blue Volkswagen, so VW Wagen. And yeah, it takes us all over the place. So yeah, we've driven to Spain to play gigs, we've driven to Sweden, we've driven to Scotland, we've driven to Germany.
Berlin is the furthest east that we've driven so far.
Yeah, so all over, and just really love the road, a road trip. And it really feels like every band should do that. Get a vehicle and, be absolutely exhausted because you've driven all night and then you played another gig and you haven't really got very good quality sleep and you're eating in service stations. Everybody should do that.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, what was the place in the furthest eastern place?
Berlin.
It was Berlin. So did you ever receive invitations to countries like Russia or let's say the southeast of Europe?
We've had a couple of invitations, but really it's about the logistics of playing the gig. And in the past we've had to turn down one or two gigs just because it wasn't really practical for us to play the gig, because of how far away it was and how we thought we had to get there. Because we know now that we can play a gig by flying to it, then it does open up going and playing in Russia or in Italy or in even further afield. We're certainly looking at playing some gigs, some more gigs in Spain, some more gigs in Italy, some more gigs all over Germany. I mean, really, we want to try and push where we're playing and kind of like, move on to the next stage, which is Russia, Finland, Austria, Czech Republic, Bulgaria,
everywhere basically.
I mean, these days I'm sitting in Germany. You're located on the island, on the UK. Hopefully, yeah. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference. I mean, I prepared the whole concert from Paris while I was there for a 4-month project. Are you aware of that? You have a fan base in special, no? Let me ask different. From which countries do you have the largest fan base? Is it just from the UK because you are from over there, or?
Well, the two places where we've got the most fans is England. England and Germany. But they're all kind of dotted around. So, and England and Germany is a big place. So, although we have fans in a particular place, doesn't mean they will always travel to a concert in that place, because it might be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles.
or even thousands. I mean, when I started when I started to draw. To try to draw attention to the festival, I was looking for, well, I was not limited on a geographic base. I just used Facebook to look for synth pop, Depeche Mode fan bases and something like that, and asked some groups whether it's okay to have some kind of mentioning this concert here in Germany, and they said, yeah, no, why not? And then I received some feedback from South America. I mean, just interested in the music. Of course, it's probably they will not join the festival, but they see it, and that was quite interesting, because even if you're not traveling to South America in the next 2 years due to missing invitations, maybe or logistics, there still might be fans.
I mean, it always amazes me. When we get kind of, because we sell a lot of physical merch, so we do get a direct kind of, I'm having to post a CD or a t-shirt to somebody, And when I get so excited when like a new person comes through and I'm like, oh my god, somebody from this part of the world has just ordered a t-shirt. Like, how do they even know about us? And you know, and then I love the fact that it's literally like one person in that whole country that I've ever known of, and then they'll say to me, when are you coming to so and so? And I'm like, you're literally the one person in that country that likes us. You know, we want to come out there, but are we going to come and play in your lounge?
So when somebody you don't know approaches you in 2 weeks, just return with, "You must be Christian." That was the name of the guy who was talking to me about your concert. So he would definitely be surprised. Maybe he's listening now, but I'm not sure. I gave him a one-to-one invitation to the web session today.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay, so we know the Vile Wagon. We know your fan base. We know your kind of music. We will experience your music in 2 weeks. Here are just some lines about your discography. You have 3 albums. Albs? How do you say?
Well, no, there's two of those are albums. The Pack of Wolves was actually a special edition EP thing that we did. So we've got 2 albums, which is The Future Through a Lens, and then In the Shadows of Monuments, which is our current album. But we have released kind of other EPs in the past, as I say, normally physical. So, I mean, they're still available to buy on iTunes and stuff, but the actual physical versions of some of them are sold out. So,
well, sold out physically, but you can still get them as...
you can still get digital downloads, but the actual CD is sold out.
Okay, but I agree with what you say when having a physical thing, having a haptic. Do you say haptic in English? I don't know.
Yeah.
You can touch the media and say this is. I do no longer use CDs only for that reason. Or the only reason why I touch CDs is because of touching them. Yeah. But if I want to listen to your music, I have the downloads, of course.
Yeah.
Sure. So will you play some new songs in 2 weeks also? I mean, Heliophile has just released their new album 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. They will definitely show some new songs. How about you?
There will be some new versions of songs. That's all that I can say at the moment. Certainly for our audience who might come and see us play in Germany, they won't have heard some of the songs that we will play.
That sounds very good. That sounds very cryptic. We have been playing a kind of a new song occasionally, but it's I'm still not confident singing it. I sing it in a very different vocal register, so I sing it really high and falsetto, and I'm still not. I still haven't kind of got comfortable in performing it. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not. I don't. I think I'll just do it badly. So I'd rather not do it at all. So there might be a completely new song, but it depends on how rehearsals go and how my voice is holding up to kind of doing really high stuff. So
I'm just so excited about all these things that are going to happen now. It's crazy. So great. Yeah. Okay. I think so. From what you already talked about other gigs. We talked about Synthetic Orange. Is there something special you expect from Synthetic Orange? From some special persons you expect to meet over there?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, I'm just, we love playing shows and we love kind of getting to meet new kind of audience members and new bands. It'll be really nice to play with Heliophile again because, as you mentioned, we performed with them at iSynth a few years ago. And we also saw Train to Spain in London 2 or 3 years ago as well. And it was a fantastic show. So really looking forward to kind of sharing a stage with them as well. So, and also just the German crowds are always so friendly and enthusiastic. So it'll just be nice to come and hang out with some lovely German people.
Okay, good to know. I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen Train to Spain live on that one, not so far. I just got connected to them in Gothenburg 2 years ago, but they were in the audience, same as me. I can remember how I started communication with Helena, but I wasn't aware of her playing in a band, and that was, of course, it was surprising, and I'm quite happy that they also joined the festival now. And Jonas he's traveling already on Thursday. He's joining. Well, he's going to be the first one who is here, appearing in Karlsruhe and spending the evening here and hanging around, maybe doing some clubbing or whatever, what I can find. That's really a nice thing to happen. And how about the iSynth guys? Are you still in contact with them? Sebastian?
I mean, just again, it's kind of on Facebook. We keep in touch with everybody. We haven't actually seen them since iSynth. But yeah, I mean, still in touch with it, and they're such a lovely bunch. They didn't do it this year, did they? Did they do it this year? I thought they missed one.
I don't think so. I think it was they had a break this year.
Yeah, I thought they'd had a break.
I thought they did something with who played out there. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, he's wrong. You're wrong.
Okay.
But yeah,
I will give them
an
invitation.
Yeah, do.
Okay, so well, from that's what I prepared from in terms of questions. Here we just have some web resources. Anything else I can do for you in the next 2 weeks? Let me know.
We will do. I mean, you've done so much already, so yeah, we kind of feel all ready and excited. So it's kind of, there's no stress. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you will be located at my brother's house. So that's in terms of family, you can't get closer to me. That's my brother. Yeah. Okay,
and I'll get to practice some of my German language. So.
Definitely, because he doesn't speak any English. Well, I'm not sure whether he speaks German either, but his dialect. No, it's. I think if he tries to speak German, you will be able to understand him. It's not that difficult. Should be there. And you could also try French. Maybe he has some rusty words, and his wife.
Okay.
Okay, so much for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Really, really happy about this.
Yeah, no.
And we all look forward to the show in 2 weeks. And keep in touch. Let me know when you're live, and I will take care of you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.